Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramon, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I'm extremely thrilled to have you join us today. We dedicate this podcast to teach you how to do business and live life with a servant's heart, to make that impact, make a difference in somebody's life. Also, too, my guests all are going to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you how to use that servant's heart to do whatever they do to help you grow and help them grow and help everybody grow. If we can make a difference in our own little worlds, makes a huge difference in the big world. And while you're listening today, I want you to think about who you're going to serve today and how you're going to serve yourself today and what impact you create today. And the key word is always there today, because I still get messages. I heard you on the podcast, and I waited a month, waited a week. Listen to this great guest and just go service somebody. Call your best friend. Tell your wife you love her. Again, service can be as small as it can be, or as big as it wants to be, the impact, but you never know what the people are walking, what shoes are walking in today. You could just tell them they look good today and it could completely change their life. So keep that in mind. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by our incredible partner, Pantheon Alliance. Would you like to be part of an exclusive community of high income, successful business owners and entrepreneurs from very diverse industries? Together, they're building a thought leader platform to impact and change the world. For more information about that, Pantheon Alliance, just reach out to me and I'll get you all that information. And thank you, Pantheon Alliance. With that being said, impact, difference, world, all that, change the world. That's a big part of it. But are you networking properly? Do you know how to talk to people? Yeah, that's a skill. And that's a skill my guest is going to teach you how to do, and do it right to grow your business, but more importantly, to grow your network. I say this all the time, and my guest, I'm sure, says it. Your network is your net worth. And it's the quality of your network, too, that really makes a difference. Well, welcome to the show. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to be here.
Got you off guard. I said your name twice.
Yeah.
So we're brothers from another mother. I'm just going to put it out there. First, I want to thank you for your service. It's Veterans Day today. It's November 11th. And I'm 4 months behind. And again, thank you. And thank you all your veterans out there that served us. My dad did, my brother did. And, we're doing this today, partly of what Michael did and a number of other people. So thank you on this wonderful Veterans Day. Talk about networking. Let's just dive into it. Why is it so important?
All right. I'm going to jump back just a little bit and really go back to the pandemic. Before the pandemic, people would always think about networking, and they're going out and they're talking with people and saying, oh yeah, I went to this networking event, or I went to this Chamber of Commerce event, and they're always out talking with people. And then the pandemic hit. And then all of a sudden, people are relying on their telephones, on Zoom calls, and they never get that one-to-one or that feeling of the room, that vibe from the other person. And I personally feel that they are missing out on so much. And it's amazing that, listen, I go across the country and I talk about networking, communication, and your follow-up. And really, listen, the follow-up is a beast by itself. Because if you don't do that properly, then why even go out in the first place? But that being said, going out and doing all of it, it's the meeting of the people. And you wouldn't believe how much better you feel once you get out and you network with everybody else instead of your home.
Yeah, it's powerful. A lot of entrepreneurs on this show. What would you tell the entrepreneur the first step to be a better person, a better networking person?
Well, you know what? To be a better networking person, volunteer. Volunteer for some organization. But listen, I moved from New York to Georgia. But when I was in New York, I had two networking groups. That was beside the point. But I volunteered for Meals on Wheels, different things like that. And when you volunteer, you don't just walk at the mortgage industry then also.
Yeah.
And you don't just turn around and say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Mike. I sell mortgages. And do you need a mortgage?" And the furthest thing from the truth, okay? You go out there and you just do your job. You go out there and you help whomever you can help. Because there's a saying, what goes around comes around. It's true. It's true. If you go out there and give, and sure enough, soon enough, you'll start to receive. So that's really the beginning of the network. And then it just carried all the way through.
I love that you mentioned volunteering because that's a servant's heart. One thing I tell people, you want to be a servant, you want to serve more, give more, volunteer. And audience, just Google volunteering opportunities. Every state, every city has a list of them. Salvation Army, multiple ways that you could do it. You can pick and choose. And Mike, you're absolutely right. When I volunteer at my church, every day when I finish, it's like things happen.
Yeah, things happen, but you feel good about it.
Yeah.
You feel good about yourself. You feel good about what you've done. You feel good about the people you've helped, the organizations you've helped. So there's a whole lot more to it than that.
You said something interesting because audience, you know me, I'm a networking, net worth, and all that, like I said earlier. But you talked about being better networker during a workshop or a presentation. Talk about that because this is powerful.
Okay, so during a conference, there's a way that you go up and you talk to people. And let's just put the workshops on a side for right now,
Mhm.
and let's concentrate on those keynote speeches, on the breakout sessions, things like that. When you first walk into a networking event, it's usually a grand room with 300 people, and you don't know what to do first. Okay, so let me give you a little map, right? First things first, you pick up that piece of paper where all the tables are located, and you picked out the people that you want to talk to. You pick that up, fine. Take that, fold it, put it in your pocket. You're going to walk it because before every event, you have a networking event and you get to deal with people. So let's just say that there are tables and you walk up to a table with three or four, maybe even five people are talking. The first thing you do is listen. You don't say a thing. Listen for the conversation. Because if it's a conversation you want to be a part of, you're going to stick around. If it's not, then politely bow out and go to the next table. Okay. But now let's say that it is a conversation that you want to be a part of. You're listening. You haven't said a word yet. You're waiting for the conversation to come around. And okay, you're able to put in your 2 cents. Now remember, you're going as an expert in your field. So remember, what you say has to be worth something. So you say what you want to say, and maybe two, maybe three of the people turn around, look at you, and respond to you. So now you say, okay, Steve, what is it that you do? And you let them talk. Now you are thinking form, FORM, family, occupation, recreation, or a message. And it's so important because there are levels that you can hit this person with that they don't even know. But let them talk about their business, talk about their family, their occupation, their recreation. Say, oh, do you like to ski? Oh, you like to jet ski? Oh no, that you talk about your son. Oh, your son is he in Little League? Oh, that's great. What position does he play? Listen, I coached for 16 years. I was a baseball umpire. I can talk with them on any level. but let them talk. Because what? The more that they speak, the lower that their threshold of trust. Okay, so they're going to lower their fences, and they're going to start to trust you, even though they don't realize it. They start trusting you a little more, know you, like you, trust you. They're going to do business with you. Okay, and we'll go into that a little bit later on. But you let them talk and talk and talk. So if you do your job right, they're going to talk for 2 or 3, 4 minutes
Yeah.
and say, you know something, Steve, I like you. I like what you've done. How can I be the best referral source for you? Because you're looking to give, not receive. If you go to a networking event expecting to sell something, don't even go. Okay. You're only looking to give. Right. And so he's going to tell you, like, oh, he's going to be taken back. He or she will be taken aback, but they will become more free with their information. And if you've done your job correctly, then they'll ask you, what do you do? All right. But here's the important part. When you go to a networking situation, 3, 4, 5 hours, how many business cards do you want to collect? Now, I used to collect when I was in the mortgages and everything else, like a shoebox full of business cards. And 2 weeks later, I'd look at the business card and go, I don't remember these people. You shouldn't take more than 15 or 20 business cards a session. So now let's go back to that person. I'm talking to Steve. He just told me what he did. I took his business card and I wrote on the back of it the date, the name of the function, and something we spoke about. We spoke about your son playing Little League, playing first base. So when I do my follow up, I have something, right? So then he asks you for your card and whatever else. Okay. Now, how do you end that conversation so you can move on to the next person?
Yeah.
Very simple. It's always very simple. Hey, that's great. I'll get back in touch with you. We're going to get together, right? Okay, good. Let me move on. And that is your initial meeting with another person.
Now, the flip side of that, which I think is important, I want to speak for you, but think is, how do we do the correct introduction? So when it's our turn, how do we do that without pitching?
Well, you know what? Again, you're talking about the other person first. You're always putting yourself second and not first. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, but you don't want to seem too aggressive. You don't want to seem like you're stealing the show. You're letting Steve talk about himself. And then if you give your 30-second elevator speech, and I hate to use that because your 30-second elevator speech should only be about 5 seconds. Because if it's interesting enough, they'll ask you a question, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that response. I help professionals network and communicate more effectively and efficiently, thus providing more profits. So once I say that, I help professionals network and communicate. If they ask me a question, then I won. I scored. And I can go on, can talk back and forth. But always give the other person the opportunity to speak.
As you said, elevator speech, because the old phrase is elevator pitch. And audience, that's gone now, because take the pitch out of your conversation, because it goes in your mind.
Yes.
People are like, well, why not just a word? No, when you say elevator pitch, it's going to feel like a pitch to you, or you're going to be. And I love that you said speech, and it's so write that down on it's elevator speech in your mindset. So cool. So you got a great book that goes over all this. What inspired you to write Networking Unleashed?
Well, it's because of the pandemic and because people didn't know how to network. And I was toying with the idea of writing a book. And it was my wife who got behind me and said, look, you ought to put all this stuff down on paper and actually author a book. So that's what I did. And this is not a very thick book. It's like 45 or 50 pages. I didn't fill it with fluff. I didn't do, fancy things with it. I just gave you the nuts and bolts of networking. And if you read the book, it's very insightful.
What are some of the topics people will read or understand?
Well, it's simple. When you first meet somebody, have eye contact. Okay. It's really one of the most important things.
Yeah.
Eye contact and a firm handshake, because people don't want to do business with somebody who shakes their hand like a dead fish, right? So, eye contact, and of course, have the confidence. So, the confidence, how you stand, where you keep your hands, all of this is just, it should be common sense, but you wouldn't believe how many people walk around hunched over, not confident,
Yeah.
stand a certain way, and all of that is just fixed.
And the crazy thing is, this goes across just not networking, your family, your friends, church, wherever you're dealing with people. That's why I love what you do, Mike, is this translates just not in business. So reading this book, you can take some of this stuff and run with it. I'm excited to announce that you're launching a podcast, Networking Unleashed. What's that going to listen or look like for people when they're listening?
Well, it's going to entail network communication, of course, but marketing, sales, proficiency in all of the above, and of course, humor and everything else. Because everything I do is going to have humor in it. And that's going to, maybe a little storytelling, um, where the people came from, how we can get hold of everybody. But the crux of it will be how to, for an entrepreneur, how they can market themselves, how they can, let me, when I just came back from a workshop in Ohio, and it was a metal roofing company, and about 25 people were there, 30 people were there, and had four salespeople. That was it. And they said, raise your hand if you think you're a salesperson. Well, only those four raised their hand. I said, no. I talked to the owner who was sitting in the back. I said, Todd, who is a salesperson? He said, everybody. I said, you're right. Are you a salesperson? He said, yes. Because everybody, I had back office people, I had warehouse people, I had all people like that, customer service. I said, everybody touches the customer in a certain way. And it's how you deal with that. And that's how I started. And all of a sudden, now people were paying attention, like, oh, I thought this was just for sales. And so it's not, like, okay, now that I have your attention, and
Yeah.
went on. So it's pretty good.
No, and that's why I love what you do with the body language and all that in your life, because you're selling your wife, you're selling your kids, you're selling your friends. We're selling every day. We don't even realize it. And that's the power of this. So that's why I love what you do. A question I get, because I talk about networking too, is how do I handle diverse audiences? How do I change my strategies networking with different types of people?
Well, you really have to, you have to do it on the fly, because you don't know it until you walk into the room.
Yep.
And you say, okay, I have to be careful because of XYZ. They're all in here. So you really have to curb what you're saying in that way. But it really shouldn't be that difficult, because what you are saying should transport all through all ethnic backgrounds and everything else like that. And really, the best thing you can do is, like, if you want to joke, be it a self-deprecating joke. Okay, make fun of yourself. Everybody laughs at that, right? But you can make it that way, and then you can see what works, what doesn't work. Listen, you're going to bomb. Okay, there are times where you go on stage and you hear crickets. You're like, okay, that didn't work, so I'm going to rewrite that. Okay, but mental note, you do that, but you just go on, you power on, because they don't know what you're going to talk about, so you can change it as you go.
Yeah. You're brilliant, Mike, because you brought up the only time in business you should talk about yourself, when you're doing humor. That's the only time. And I as you're talking, I realize that's what I do. I think that's why we're both successful. Is it's not about us, even when it comes to humor. Yeah, you don't start attacking somebody. And I love that you said that, because even if it's a friend next to you, you start attacking the friend in a fun way. Again, it doesn't translate.
No, it doesn't. But it always translate when you do it to yourself.
Yeah,
And all of
because
a
you're
sudden
humble.
they start laughing, and they don't even know why they're laughing. They just know they're laughing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but now here's a big thing. If you go to network, or you're a speaker or something else like that, and you're not a funny person, don't install, don't put humor into it, because everybody can tell you're forcing the humor, and that in itself is funny.
That's true. The duck walked the yeah, no energy with a joke. I love it. That is so well said. Well, we're coming to the end here. Real
Okay.
quick, how does family play in supporting career endeavors?
Families first.
Okay.
Family. Listen, I grew up where both my wife and I worked with my. We both had to work. Okay, my boys got involved with baseball. They played college baseball, football, some basketball, but you always make time for family. You always make time. It's that work-life balance. You have to
Mm-hmm.
give up a little something. Usually it's money. That's what I had to give up during those years, is give up money to be with my boys, my wife. You know, when I was coaching baseball, I would have a coaching session, or uh, whatever, a session like that. And it's the second she got off from work, she'd be at the fields, and she'd be right there helping me. And unfortunately, you have the parents that used to drop their kids off and leave. So you have to go through the whole gambit of what that child is feeling and everything else. But all of it is giving up that time, but it means so much. It means so much now. Listen, they're grown, married, everything else. But sometimes you don't even realize, because they'll come out with something like, you remember that? I say, of course, Dad. You know, it's that important.
Precious, man. That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Before we end, let's do a little improv. Speaking of humor, and this is not humorous, but it's improv. So you've got a reservation at a restaurant, table of four. You're going to sit in one of the chairs. In the three empty chairs, who would you invite, dead or alive? Why would you invite them? And what food would you order?
Well, it's very interesting. Who would I invite? Well, let me go big. Okay. I would say Elon Musk. Okay.
Love
He'd
it.
be one of the people. Then there is somebody who passed away who was my old English teacher, and I'd have him sit down. Okay. And the last one, I'm really not sure who it would be, but um, I would see what they want to drink, what type of wine they want to drink. Not hard liquor. There's a big difference there. But a glass of wine, because that will relax people, and we can start talking. And I wouldn't order anything uh, for about a half an hour, because I want all of us to sit down, let our hair down, so to speak. I'm losing it, but let our hair down and just talk and have a good time, because I would want everybody to have a good time more so than anything else.
I've asked this question over 150 times. That's the most interesting. Didn't think about that. Where let's not eat first. And then the food will come later, because I'm with you. I got Elon Musk at the table. I've got millions of questions to ask.
Absolutely.
Millions. Yeah.
I'd still be asking questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Get another couple hours. Well,
Yeah.
you've been an incredible guest. As I said, we're brothers from another mother. Networking will change your life, audience. And you've heard me say it. You've seen some of you speak, but he's a speaker as well, a public speaker, as you see, and he's got his podcast. So how can people reach out to you to hire you as a speaker, or listen to your podcast, or get your book?
Well, best thing to do is go to my website, michaelaforman.com. On there, you'll see my different talks, the many podcasts that I've been on, the Speakers Bureau, but most of all, on the very bottom is a contact form. And just put your information in there. I will get back in touch with you within 24 hours. Um, and we can discuss anything. But mostly it's whether it's talking on abroad, not abroad, within the country, um, doing a workshop. And I've been doing more workshops than breakout sessions and keynotes because people have wanted me to come into their company and teach their middle management and below, and one-on-one coaching. But
Yeah.
michaelaforman.com, that's the best way to get hold of me.
And search Networking Unleashed, you'll find all the podcasts when it comes out. If if you listen to it, this is the 11th of November in 2024. I'm sure it'll be out in the next week or two, but just keep searching it. He'll probably have it on his website too, so you can access it, because this will be some great podcast guests for you. And as always say, everybody, I want to thank again, Mike, for being on. This is something that you all need to take a look at. But I love people to subscribe to my YouTube channel for one reason, and not the reason you think. When you listen to Mike and you hear these things and go, God, my friend or my family member needs to hear this, needs to be networking better, the best servant gift you can give is this podcast. They can listen to him for 10 or 15 minutes, go, that's a guy I need to talk to. Or maybe he said something like, listen. Okay, I'm going to listen, and you grow that way. We're all about, me and Mike, about you guys, as I said, inspire, educate, and motivate. So that's the whole idea. And comment on the YouTube channel. If it's for Mike, I'll get it to him. Don't worry about that. It's a critique for the podcast. I'd love to hear that, because me and Mike, it's all about you, the audience. We're here talking, but we're thinking about you as the audience, so we can make that better and give you more value. We're both all in. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching or listening to this podcast. Me and Michael appreciate it so much, and we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.